If you were a Degrassi fan during the summer of 2010, there was one thing you were looking forward to, and that was the premiere of Degrassi Takes Manhattan. Because not only did that movie promise to be the insanest, most go-theriest installment of the Degrassi cinematic universe yet, immediately after season 10 would premiere, which Teen Nick called the boiling point. And the way they were promoting it, it was like the apocalypse was on the way. They showed that trailer like 5 times every commercial break. It's burned into my brain. It was all, "You have pretty eyes. You think I'm stupid, Jane?" The slap. Yeah! The boiling point. Holy shit. I mean, you would have been an idiot if you missed out on this. And today I want to revisit Degrassi Takes Manhattan, because it turned out being my absolute favorite Degrassi TV movie of all time. It definitely lived up to the Teen Nick hype, like, at least in terms of being absolutely insane and scarring us for life. So come along and reopen that psychological wound with me today. Before we get started, I want to invite all of you to hit that subscribe button. My next milestone is hitting 10 subscribers. And I know that if the community really gets together, we can make that happen. I believe in us, gang. Now that that's out of the way, let's hop to it. The movie opens on the empty hallways of the school. There's like huge amounts of garbage all over the place. All the lockers are open. It looks like the entire school got raptured because it's the last day of school. So Jane's running around gathering her bandmates because she's the lead singer of the Stoods now. You might remember the Stoods from my last Degrassi video on the season 9 methosodes. If not, then you're a lot like most people. The Stoods are doing whatever you'd call the band version of a flash mob out in front of the school. All the students come running when the bell rings, and the Stoods play a song called The Great Escape. Degrassi music is so hit or miss, but this one's not so bad, and it's very thematic. Also, I'm wondering, how did they put up this stage without anyone noticing? Why was Sav's teacher still trying to teach his class anything? Why does Spinner get to ditch his job and leave the dot empty for like an hour? Who knows? Degrassi. In the computer lab, Declan's showing Holly J where they'll be staying for the summer, which is his parents' New York City apartment loft. If you didn't know it yet, they're a couple. The student council president and the rich boy. It's too perfect. Holly J's landed an internship with this Entertainment Weekly adjacent kind of company, so that's why she's staying with the Coins all summer.
Nothing interrupts her summer of love.
Famous last words. Also, this title animation is just wild. After the concert, the Stoods go on about how amazing their summer is going to be before the seniors split off for college. Spinner's all, "Sucks for you guys. I might have to stay here and work at the dot for the rest of my life, but my girlfriend's gonna be right here." He's talking about Jane. He and Jane are a couple. Anyway, after Spinner brags about him and Jane, Jane pulls out this mystery envelope that she looks kind of scared of. Now Mrs. Coin is on campus to see her kids. I forget why. Declan's like, "I wish I could stay at Degrassi instead." And Mrs. Coin goes, "At least you'll have Holly J all summer." And Fiona's like, "Yeah, at least we have Holly J all summer." She's not like thrilled about that. Mrs. Coin leaves for wherever she's going, and Declan brings up that he and Fee have the mansion to themselves for the next 2 days, so he turns around and gives the whole school an open invite to a pool party tomorrow. Now Jane and Spinner go to get some couple tattoos, which look like shit. And for some reason, Jane thinks this is the perfect time to tell Spinner about the mystery envelope from 2 minutes ago. That letter was actually her acceptance to Stanford University. She got that and a full-ride scholarship on the last day of school somehow. Dang, she really tried to tattoo and trap Spinner just now so he wouldn't break up with her. But it doesn't work. Obviously, Spinner doesn't take that well, and he walks out with an unfinished tattoo. At least I hope it's unfinished. The seniors graduate the next day, but Spinner's not planning to go anymore because he's still mad at Jane. He tells his bestie Jay what happened and how they're totally gonna break up now. But Jay points out that the longer the two of them are apart, the crazier the sex is gonna be when they get back together.
Absence makes the girl grow, happy to see, really happy.
Yeah, that's like science or something. And just like that, Spinner's all for Stanford. He leaves and he makes the graduation just in time to see Jane's valedictorian speech. After that, Spinner's back at the dot with Jane, and we learn that they're hiring.
Look, it's not even busy. You can go to Declan's pool party.
No, I need to make sure you don't hire some bimbo. Hi, peeps.
Emma Nelson's back in town after doing some long-ass bike ride, and now she needs a real job. So she basically hires herself. So then Spinner and Jane decide to go to Declan's pool party after all, and they leave the dot in Emma's care. But Spinner's sure to warn her, "Do not touch the panini press until I get back." And Emma's like, "Oh boy, you can trust me, boss." We cut to the pool party at the Coins.
Some ketchup.
Jane goes to change with Holly J. When Declan doesn't know how Holly J likes her burger, Spinner goes to ask her and find out. Holly J and Jane are in this tent talking about how amazing their summers are going to be and how they've both slept with Declan before. What? Right, that was a thing that happened. It's so hard to remember everything that happens in this show. Actually, I'm hereby not providing any more character or relationship context because this video will take years. Anyway, Jane and Holly J are like, good thing Spinner never found out. That would have been the worst thing ever. Oh my god, I know, right? Little do they know that Spinner is right outside their tent, just listening in. When they come out of the tent, Spinner dramatically confronts Jane. And he breaks up with her, and he scolds Holly J for keeping that secret for so long. Then he punches Declan's wealthy-ass face in. In the aftermath, Declan and Holly J comfort Jane, and together they decide that what Jane needs is a trip to New York to get away from it all. So now she's coming with them. Meanwhile, at the dot, Jay and Manny Santos come back to find Emma struggling to work a midday rush all on her own. And then after the rush, Jay demands a hot sandwich, and he and Manny pressure Emma to break out the panini press, even though she's not supposed to. You can probably tell what happens next. Spinner comes back to the dot just in time to catch Emma and Manny and Jay hopelessly corralling all the customers across the street to safety.
It might not be that bad. The smoke is so heavy. Smoke. Where are we going to school?
Then the next day, our New York quartet arrives in the city with stars in their eyes, except for Fiona. They make it to this beautiful, luxurious Coin family loft, and Fiona's already being super rude to Jane and Holly J. Jane finds out that the dot fire was yesterday, which is kind of funny to think about if you think about how fast social media is today. Like, they didn't find out about this until a whole day later. If this happened in 2024, they would have found out about it like 15 seconds before the dot broke up, like dogs before an earthquake. We find out who Holly J is interning for. It's this lady named Kristen. Fiona Pedley name drops her. Jane starts crying again because the dot fire reminded her of Spinner, so then Declan elects to take the girls out sightseeing, except for Fiona. We get a funny montage of these three walking around the city just pointing at things and steadily gaining more and more shopping bags. Back at home, the dot's getting rebuilt. The owner's there, and Spinner just goes ahead and takes the fall for the entire fire because he's the manager. Emma arrives to try to apologize to Spinner, but he is so not in the mood right now.
How about you go back in time and not burn down the dot? And hey, while you're at it, get Jane not to cheat on me with Declan, okay?
Spinner, I'm so sorry.
Just leave me alone. Please.
Meanwhile, in New York, Declan and Holly J go off to do their own thing while Jane walks around Central Park trying to decide if she should call Spinner or not. Then out of nowhere, this puppy comes running up with this older guy attached. He honestly looks like the kind of community college music professor who'd get way too close to some of his students. Which is such a coincidence, because turns out he has a band too. It's called Flashing Midnight. His name is George, and once he finds out that Jane's also a singer, he just instantly invites her to come audition for this gig that the band has where they sing on live TV, like tomorrow. He hasn't even heard her sing yet. You know what they say about New York? It's super easy to find success. The city just forces opportunity upon you.
My band. Friday, we got this live TV gig thing. It's a break we've been looking for.
Which is why I'm 100% willing to teach a total stranger our set last minute and fucking pray for the best. Their old lead singer allegedly left to pursue a solo career, so I guess George is desperate. Or he's an opportunistic predator looking to snatch a girl fresh out of high school and manipulate her future. Could be either one. Back at the apartment, Declan and Holly J return from their shopping spree. Fiona asks what the dinner plans are, only to find out that Declan and Holly J went and got reservations for 2, and Fiona's upset.
Chateau, that cheesecake.
Declan just tells her to find something else to do while he and Holly J couple out all summer. And boy, will she. The next day is Holly J's first day at her internship. She's immediately warned not to, like, breathe through her mouth and stuff like that if she doesn't want to ignite the rage of Christian.
I'm Holly J. St. Clair, new intern.
Holly J. Little initial, it's cute. I'm Kristen, no initial, but you know that. Job number 1, banana. I have a thing for potassium. Got it?
The interns basically just follow Kristen around with bananas. She has so many interns doing just this. And then Fiona surprises everyone by showing up randomly. Apparently, Kristen just gave her a job overnight. Not gonna lie, when I was a teenager, I thought that power move was hot as hell. For some reason, rich, snooty brunettes who could crush my self-esteem like a bug was totally my thing. And they're not my thing now. Meanwhile, Jane goes to her audition for Flashing Midnight. Of course, she kills it. She has a song memorized already, I guess. It's called Here Today.
Every breath is a thing of wonder, so light that it floats away. Life's a spell that we're falling under. It's here today.
Confession time. I'm not mad about the music in this movie. The stuff gets stuck in my head weirdly often for like a TV movie soundtrack from 15 years ago. While she sings, we see Spinner rotting in bed back at home, and then he starts throwing all of her stuff in these boxes. Oh, by the way, that live TV gig that George was talking about, it's on the show that Holly J is working on. Holy shit.
I love New York.
So now that they're co-interns, Holly J and Fiona get up the next morning to go to work. And this fucking shot right here. I think this did something to me when I was 17. What was wrong with me? I was like, please, Fiona Coyne, murder me. It would be an honor. Starting to think that this movie calibrated my sexual orientation towards women who look like they could strangle me with their eyes. And in case you were wondering, no, I don't date. It's really bad for my health. Back in Toronto, Emma finds Spinner playing basketball by himself at Degrassi. Emma's gonna squeeze her way into this man's life whether he likes it or not. And this scene's supposed to be our first glimpse at their chemistry.
Play basketball?
Only if I can be skinned.
Yeah, that I'd like to see.
I made you smile.
Yep, that's where this is headed. Hope you like the idea. Now Kristen's holding this meeting before the show starts. Again, everyone around her has to hold onto a banana. Holly J pipes up to let Kristen know that she actually knows the lead singer of Flashing Midnight, hoping that Kristen will let her do the interview. But Fiona's beaten her to the punch, and so then Holly J's stuck researching all night for Fiona. Oh, and she's gonna miss out on going to the opera with Declan that night. That was the thing. Fiona's taking her ticket. Meanwhile, Spinner's zoning out on his couch with his pet turtle that I don't remember him having, until Emma, Manny, and Jay bust in to kidnap him out of his depression spiral. And they leave that fucking turtle on the couch. That's an animal husbandry crime. The poor little guy's gonna be a pile of dust by the time they get back. Back at the studio, Kristen tells Holly J to go get Fiona so they can do the interview. When she does, Fiona rubs it in her face that she didn't get to go to the opera, and then she straight up threatens her.
Holly J, I put up with you at Degrassi, but you're in my city now. Excuse me? You don't fit in here, and I think it's time you went home.
You're not getting rid of me.
And what are you gonna do about it, Miss Intern?
And here comes the most iconic of Holly J. Sinclair moments.
K-I-S-S, my dairy, yeah. Look! My dairy, yeah, my dairy, yeah. Kiss my dairy, yeah, my dairy, yeah.
Don't you dare lock me in here!
And if it makes it easier, I'll wave it in the air.
This is New York, Holly J, bitch.
Fiona, honey, you know I love you. Well, this round's going to Holly J. Of course, since Holly J already did the research anyway, Kristen goes ahead and lets her do it. And by the time that Fiona breaks out of the closet, it's too late. Spinner's friends drag him to this Niagara Falls casino because depression and gambling and possibly unemployment go so well together. Spinner and Emma do some blackjack together and start getting a little flirty as the drinks start pouring. And soon enough, they're making out. And with that, the Degrassi community was traumatized like never before. So Holly J completes the interview, and then when the band starts playing, Kristen goes up to Fiona and brutally fires her. Fiona calls Declan, and he just flies over there. Like, he's there before the song's even over. And he's pissed at Holly J because he only has his sister's side of the story. Okay, I was lying before. This had to be the moment that set my taste in women on a weird path. It's explaining a lot. The next day in Niagara, Spinner and Emma wake up to find out that they've gotten married. Whoops.
What did we do last night?
And obviously they've also slept together, and I take it that she did it with the veil on, because she's still wearing it in the morning.
Emma's not in her room. Do you know where she is?
What do we tell them?
She's in here.
Well, it looks like you two had fun last night.
Oh, we had fun, all right.
So, now that we're all together, all you can eat breakfast, Grease?
After we make a detour, there's something we have to undo.
Is that a veil?
They all go back down to the casino to try to get a refund, but the wedding lady is just not working with them. Manny's like, so remember how these two were super duper drunk? Maybe that was a sign that you shouldn't marry them. And the woman's like, yeah, they just got a great deal. So she just refuses to cooperate. I guess basic consent is against wedding policy in Niagara Falls. Back in New York, Declan's getting sick of his sister and his girlfriend not getting along. So Fiona promises to start fresh, and Holly J trusts her for God knows why, and Fiona proposes they have a big high society party at their place that night. For innocent reasons, I'm sure. Jane and George go back to the park, and this guy selling records is like, new lead singer, eh, George? That's cool. Anyway, sucks about your very recent breakup, George. Wow, George and Jane have so much in common. And then George tries to talk Jane out of accepting her free ride to Stanford. Pro tip, Jane. The more men tell you to not do a thing, the more reason you should do it. So far, you've got two guys saying don't go to Stanford. You get your ass to Stanford. Now Spinner and Emma are back in Toronto, and they're trying to figure out how to get divorced. And there's this actually pretty sweet part where Spinner shows Emma this shelf with all these Degrassi memories on it, including Emma's grade 9 health project, which, if you don't know, Spinner helped her back then because she was against GMOs in the calf, and he thought that GMOs were giving him too many boners at school. So they reminisce on that for a moment. And Emma cautiously reveals her feelings to Spinner, saying that maybe they shouldn't rush to divorce, because she doesn't want what they have now to end. And Spinner actually agrees. While they're doing that, the high society party's kicking off at the Coins place. Fiona's already drunk. The movie full-on stops for a second so we can watch Holly J descend down the staircase in this gorgeous green gown. And Fiona drags her off to meet her friends, which turn out to be a bunch of Declan's exes. They tell Holly J that Fiona got in the way of all of their relationships and she only wants Declan to herself. And Fiona wants people to know that about her, I guess. You know, I'm starting to think there might be an ulterior motive to this party. George takes Jane to the window and makes her look at the city, and he's like, that's opportunity. You should stay here. No Stanford. And Jane's like, I don't know, still kind of sounds like an insane decision for an 18-year-old girl to make. But then they start making out, so don't have to worry about that anymore. And we are officially in trouble. You hear that Kesha song? You might not because of copyright stuff, but it's playing. That means there's trouble on the way. Holly J tries to tell Declan what Fiona's up to, but he still doesn't believe her. To reassure Holly J, he also starts making out with her. I guess that's just how men end discussions around here. But then Fiona spots them and she gets mad and she breaks them up. And at this point, Holly J has had it. She stands up to Fiona.
I'm his girlfriend, Fiona. If anything's gross, it's your jealousy, and frankly, it's a little bit inappropriate.
And Fiona fucking snaps.
You want inappropriate?
Hey, Declan? You wanna maybe speed up that reaction time just a little?
Hey, Deck, how was the kiss? Hot or icky?
None of anyone's business, Kristen.
Instant scandal. Fiona pretends to faint so that Declan stays with her. Holly J calls them pathetic and storms off. The next morning, Spinner's cooking breakfast for him and Emma. Emma gets into his dresser to borrow some clothes, but she accidentally runs into some of Jane's old lacy bras and papers and photos, which makes Emma think that she's just a rebound, and now divorce is back on the table. Back in New York, Declan confronts Fiona about what happened last night. He flings the tabloids at her. Of course, they're all over it. And Declan tells Fiona that he's sending her off to go live in the Hamptons with some family. and she flies off the handle. This is actually a heavy scene that just comes out of nowhere in the middle of this ridiculous movie.
You're sending me to the Hamptons? Can we talk?
Okay. All our lives, we've only had each other, but that has to change.
Is that why you've been excluding me ever since we got here? You're all I have, Declan.
I can't be Fiona. I'm scared that you're messed up, and I can't help you.
We have this heated argument between the twins while Fiona desperately tells Declan that he's all she has, and Declan says that he can't be that for her anymore. And I know they're just a couple of privileged rich kids, but the situation where they're constantly moving around and living in different places because of their diplomat father has caused them a lot of pain. If Fiona's not with Declan, she's alone, so you get what she's so terrified of. At the same time, you also get Declan's side because he's been under this immense amount of pressure to always be there for Fiona and prioritize her. And he just can't keep that up any longer, especially if she's going to have these public, humiliating outbursts, and if he ever wants a relationship that actually lasts. Their dynamic might have felt safe for them for years, but it's run its course. Fiona has to go and learn how to get along with other people. So Declan holds his ground, and he turns his back on Fiona for probably the first time ever. You can tell it's really hard for him to do. Now we check in with Holly J, where she's fallen asleep at her internship holding a banana. She's still in her dress from last night, so I guess she just went straight there from the party. So who put the banana in her hand? And what do you know? The first story is about Declan and Fiona, but then Declan calls into the show to publicly apologize to Holly J and promise that she comes first from now on.
Hey, Deck, how was the kiss? Hot or icky?
None of anyone's business, Kristen. I'm calling because the girl who means more to me than anyone else in the world won't take my calls. Holly J, the way Fiona acted last night made everything clear. Turn around.
And she happily takes him back. So back in Toronto, Emma and Spinner meet up with Jay's divorce lawyer uncle, who ends up being Colin Mockery. I love when Spinner gets there because he's like, "Sorry, I'm late. I had to throw out a box." Hint, hint, Emma. Colin's like, "Here's some documents for you to sign." But Spinner asks for a quick moment alone, and then he uses it to say this.
I love music, but I don't want to be famous. I love my job, but I don't need to be rich. I love my loft, my city, my friends, and I don't like change. But I'm glad one thing did. And then I found you.
I've never known if this was a reference to something or not, but I hope it is, because otherwise they're expecting me to believe that Spinner just pulled this heavily scripted speech right out of his ass. And we all know Spinner's no poet. Either way, it works, and they decide they're going to stay married and have a real wedding ceremony here in town. In New York, Jane goes to band rehearsal, only to find out that the old lead singer is back, and not only that, she's George's ex, and they're looking not so ex anymore. So obviously Jane quits the band. George tries to explain that he didn't think his ex would give him another chance, but look, she did. If Jane's ex gave her another chance, then wouldn't she take it? And it looks like the answer's yes, because she calls Spinner right when he's in the middle of movie night with Emma. She's like, "Spin, hey, wanna get back together?" But he's like, "Oh, I'm actually getting married to Emma Nelson." Jane doesn't love hearing that. The second she hangs up, she goes to Holly J and Declan like, "Guys, we need to go back to Toronto to ruin this wedding." And they're like, "Sure. Guess we just have the spare convertible sitting around anyway." In Toronto, Manny tries to convince Emma to divorce Spinner one last time, but Emma's all ready to tell her parents about it. Like, what else can Manny do at this point but support her? Emma does stupid shit all the time. That's just who she is. But Manny at least gets Emma to have one last talk with Spinner to make triple extra sure that the wedding's a good idea. Unfortunately, Spinner and Emma both have the emotional intelligence of a couple of 20-year-olds, so it goes like this.
Did you choose a dress?
I'm working on it. So this is all really fast, right?
Yeah, I'll say.
You would?
Would you?
I am gonna love you forever, you know?
Me too. I love you. You know.
But we don't have to make this big public announcement tomorrow.
No. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll tell our friends and family. And then if it doesn't work out...
If that's what you want. Yes, yeah.
That's what you want.
What's the rush, right?
No rush. No rush.
None. Okay, well, I'm gonna go.
Okay. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye.
The travelers make a pit stop where we see Holly J and Declan getting cold feet over crashing this wedding, and they resolve to make the trip as long and derailed as possible so Jane has time to change her mind. Starting with the stop at this roadside strawberry stand, then later they stop to play baseball. Jane catches on that they're stalling her, so they try one more time to talk her out of it. And at first Jane's like, okay guys, you're right. But then she turns around and steals the convertible.
Jane!
Now Emma's back in Manny's arms, sobbing because she thinks that Spinner thinks that they're just gonna divorce further down the road anyway. We're all handling this so well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the actual worst part of the entire movie.
It's hammer time!
That's right. It's Peter. Peter interrupts Spinner as he's beating the hell out of the scraps of the dot. Spinner's getting really personal with that panini press that started it all. Spinner tells Peter that he thinks Emma doesn't want to get married anymore. So now he's spiraling and thinking that he's such a total loser with nothing going for him. But then the owner of the dot comes through the door and he's like, yay, the insurance went through. Now the rebuild of the dot's gonna be even better than the old one. And then he's like, goes to show how good things can come from accidents. And Spinner's like, oh yeah! Wedding's back on. Spinner runs like hell to Emma's place and he busts in through the front door while the family is there and getting ready for dinner. He thrusts some dirty old flowers at Emma and he's like,
No, I need them all to hear this. Emma, I want the rest of our lives together to start now. I don't care if it started as an accident.
What's with the flowers? What's going on?
I'm asking your daughter to marry me, sir.
you can see how mind-blown Snake is right now. Like, all of seasons 1 through 9 just flashed before his eyes. But the parents give their blessing, so everyone's on board.
Hey, Peter. Oh, hey, guys. Liberty, you got the Evite?
I hate him. But it's wedding time. All of our Degrassi favorites are reuniting for the occasion. But Jane is on her way. I'm not sure how she knows that the wedding's happening right here, right now, but she does. Before the ceremony, Jane gets there and she comes to find Spinner mentally preparing in his tent. Jane starts to tell Spinner to call off the wedding, but when she really looks at him, she sees how happy he finally is. So instead, she apologizes for breaking his heart and asks if he can just forgive her. And he does. Jane tells him to marry Emma and be happy. Then she kisses him on the cheek, and of fucking course, Manny comes in right at that moment.
What the hell are you doing here?
Nothing. We were just talking.
Manny, it's okay.
Like hell it is. Get out! Out! What is wrong with you? No one is going to ruin Emma's wedding!
Our catfight queen.
Well, I'm not telling Spinner that Jane's here. Man, if I tell him, he will break me. You're overreacting. Man, I'm like a twig.
Gross! Stop it! Stop, man! Come on! Come on!
Well, what was that kiss all about?
It was about goodbye!
And I was just leaving.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. How's my hair?
Never looked better.
Peter kicks off the ceremony because God hates me.
Emma and Spinner's post-impulsive casino wedding commitment ceremony. It's a wedding, guys.
Well, that's unusual.
I forgot to mention that nobody here realizes that this is a wedding. So when Peter says it is, they're like, excuse me? Jay officiates the wedding, and in spite of the absolute goofiness of this whole situation, it is kind of heartwarming in a way, the way everyone is so quick to get on board with this crazy out of nowhere development. Fine, I think it's kind of sweet. Just leave me alone. When the ceremony is over, Declan and Holly J finally arrive by boat, and they're a lot less upset with Jane than I would be in their position. Jane tells them they were right, and she's made her peace with losing Spinner, finally. Spinner and Emma spot them, and they invite them to the reception. It's super friendly, and Manny sings a song for the couple as they have their first dance. Why is this winning me over now? Seriously. Is my brain broken? Then Declan and Holly J reflect on their New York journey together. We get to check in on Fiona, waiting to get picked up by her mother. I love Mrs. Coyne, by the way. Like, she's flawed, but she's a really good mom. When she walks up to Fiona, at first she puts on this disappointed kind of face, but she can't hold on to it. She's so concerned for her daughter, she pulls her in for a hug to reassure her. Next time we see Fiona, she'll have gone to therapy, which is awesome. And then our trio of Spinner's former enemies send us off with a kinda cheesy but optimistic message for all the other recent high school graduates preparing for the next big stage of their lives.
From grad to falling in love with New York, to watching the former love of my life get married. It's been wild.
It was a really nice wedding. Even kind of fairy tale in a weird way.
That fairy tale was never my story.
Hell, your adventure hasn't even started yet.
Any idea what it might be?
I can't wait to find out.
And that was Degrassi Takes Manhattan. How do we all feel now? I guess this is still my favorite Degrassi movie. It's definitely the most memorable. Y'all know how much I love this overdramatic, goofy shit. Teenagers making crazy life decisions, surprise weddings, and I'll always have that big ol' footprint it left on my sexual orientation to remember it by. Again, share with me what you think about the movie in the comments if you like it or hate it or hate me. Remember to always carry a banana, and I'll see you next time.